does, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? I hope you've had a great weekend dodging the fuel prices. Can you last until next Wednesday when you're going to get a 26.9 cent reduction in fuel prices? Or are you? Because the fuel companies are just as likely to raise the prices by 26.9 cents a litre just in time for that to take effect. Do you think that's a possibility? I don't mind just being a bit skeptical. I don't know. Regardless, it's going to make your travel time at Easter this year rather expensive, to say the least. Well, there are other ways, and this is how Queensland is preparing for the Easter travel coming up. People are already getting ready to head for the beaches and look forward to having a great time with their friends. I suspect if you decide you're going to take a car anywhere this weekend, you will be stuck in traffic and wind up with a look on your face like this bloke. That's the traffic face. So I sort of kind of think that bloke looks like Muammar Gaddafi did just before they caught him and did him in with a sharp knife up the jacksie there all those years ago. However, if you are planning on heading off for Easter, good luck. God love you. And I hope your bank balance doesn't take too much of a hit. If you aren't going too far away, it shouldn't be too bad at all. Yeah, no, there won't be a fuel saving. They'll figure out how to take it off us, as they did during COVID, folks. They did the same friggin' thing. Now then, I know a lot of you in the chat will be wondering what that is, and he is probably in the chat. I haven't actually checked to see if he's poked himself in there. He is. There he is. He says, hey, beautiful people. Well, tonight I'm going to give his delicate dancing fingers a head. Oh, I know. It's not terribly flash. Well, it's better than mine. I can't be complaining. That is Wopda and Wonderful Man. This is the foot, the one on the left, or the leg on the left. This is the joyous picture he was able to take after he came out of surgery on Friday morning, was it? And he was overjoyed to see that while it did seem to have changed color a little bit with the surgical goo, it was still attached to the nether part of his body. Over the course of the weekend, they have been monitoring it, and things haven't been going quite as well as expected. There might still be a few little blockages, and I'm sure in the chat, Greg will be explaining what's going on, but there are a few blockages still that aren't clearing the way that they should be clearing. So there'll be another surgical consult tomorrow with a bunch of people at the University Hospital on the Sunshine Coast deciding whether or not they need further surgery to go back in and clean the blockages that are in his leg, because currently you can see it has an interesting shade to it on the left-hand side. So the doctors are looking at it, and he's in very good care. He can't complain. He said he's not complaining. There's so much he could complain about, but has chosen not to. So God love him. Our prayers are with you, mate, and with your leg, trusting that it stays attached to the rest of you. But at the end of the day, it's easy for me to say, but at the end of the day, if you lose it, there'll be plenty of us to wheel you around the deck on the cruise. Have no problems. You won't have to have mastered your new leg by then. They take wheelchairs everywhere. We'll look after you, brother. Have absolutely no fear. Yes, I know some of you are horrified that I'm saying that to him, but he knows me and I know him, and he knows I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek. We love Greg very deeply, and if you can't laugh about these sorts of things, especially when, you know, he's obviously having a bit of a downtime of it at times, so we try and put a smile on the face, and there is no point shying away from what could potentially be a realistic option in the end. So can't lie to ourselves and hide from it. All we can do is joke about it, prepare for it in the worst case scenario, and make sure that we love him and look after him if and when it ever happens. And God help you on that cruise, mate. I'm going to crown you a pirate if you come on with one leg. Kind of bloody amazing effort. Amazing effort at authenticity, can I just say. All right, tonight we're going to talk about anxiety. We're going to talk about things that trigger you and the way that the government and the system currently seems to be reinvigorating the old convid standards of ramp up the anxiety in the people, corral them, make them scared of something, then tell them they have to do something. They will comply. If they don't, there will be repercussions. And believe it or not, that's exactly what's happening with our fuel supply and so many other things. And I have had so many people come and talk to me about what they can do, how they're feeling. Some of them don't talk about it. Some of them just ring up on the phone and it all comes out. And I can hear that frustration. And I know they're frustrated and I know they want to do things about it. Well, we all want to do that. And Malibu Bert has very kindly offered her services, not just for tonight, but she has offered her services to you free of charge. Now, we will figure out how we're going to do this. But from tonight, Malibu doesn't know yet, but we've actually set her up an email address, which will go along in the ticker. I recorded the interview that I'm about to play with Malibu yesterday because she's a busy lady and trying to slot in on a work day with her is very difficult. I've known Malibu for 30 years. I think we first met each other in the early 90s working in radio together. She wound up married to one of my best mates in radio for many moons. They've since gone their separate ways and doing separate lives. And thankfully, I can still have a friendship with both of them. So it works out quite well. But she's since gone on to do, I think it's 7 or 8 years of study. She has so many letters after her name, we nearly need a new alphabet. And to get a lady of these sort of qualifications to give up her time and expertise freely for us is, I think, something quite unique. So I've come up with a not so unique name for the segment called Ask Malibu. And that will be the email address that you can send a question to. Now, if you find yourself struggling with some sort of anxiety issue, if you find yourself just having trouble dealing with life at the moment and all the pressures that are being put on, whether it be now that the interest rates have gone up, you're worried about the world going into World War III, or maybe you've got children who are active in the military, you're concerned that either they are there or they're going to be sent into that region and put in harm's way. There are so many various different things that can trigger us when it comes to anxiety, and so many of us get affected by it in such debilitating ways. So if you're feeling that sort of pressure, then I urge you to take up the opportunity to write to Malibu at askmalibu@vofhq.com. askmalibu@vofhq.com. You'll hear in this interview that I say send your questions to me, Carl. You can do that. I'll pass them on, but I hadn't been able to speak to Vince until just before the start of the show, and he's only just set up this email address. So that's why there will be a ticker with it going across the bottom, but I would love for you to be involved with that. And we'll get into that right after we talk about the loss of Desi Freeman today. Well, the alleged loss of Desi Freeman. The police so far have not confirmed that the man they shot to death this morning, and that's what all the headlines say, they raided a place and shot him to death. The stories that have come out variously through the day, and they have only come out through police sort of channels, indicate a few different stories, if you like. One, that the gentleman that they're alleging is Desi Freeman came out wrapped in a blanket and was holding one of the service revolvers from one of the officers that he'd shot in Port Punker or Bright or wherever it was that it happened. Highly possible because 2 service revolvers, I think, were taken from that scene. If he did come out with one of them, the initial report, and this is from the Commandant of the Victorian Police, who likes to use the Victoria Police helicopter as his personal travel machine, he has stated that he believed at the time that he came out with a gun in his hand. He raised that gun, and under the police special operations group rules of engagement, if you like, they shot Desi. Now, I've got a few questions about that, and I don't think we're ever going to get any answers. Desi was I mean, it annoys me. It annoys anybody who knows anything at all about common law arguments. It annoys me that I've heard on the news today various channels describing him as the self-described sovereign citizen. No self-respecting person who understands common law would ever describe themselves as a sovereign citizen for reasons you smart, intelligent, wonderful folks are very well aware of. It's an oxymoron. You can't have the two words together. They just cannot be together. They don't work together. There is no way they can work together. It means drivel. And yet our mainstream media continue to propagate the bullshit of the self-described sovereign citizen. Well, I don't think he ever self-described as that at all. He was described as that. But he did put forward lawful arguments that did tend to upset certain people in the government of the day, that being Dan Andrews in particular. And now, I guess, with Dan Andrews supposedly on his back in a hospital bed, suffering very, very badly from stroke symptoms and unable to attend court and associated other bits and pieces, now with Desi dead, we'll never have to bother. I'm interested to know how many times Desi Freeman was shot, if it is in fact Desi Freeman. And I've got no reason to think it's not, but always pays to be better and be sure. An autopsy will be carried out. Ordinarily, in the course of an autopsy, we would, as by way of some sort of public release, be told how he died, from gunshot wound or gunshots, a number of wounds. That may not get released in a coroner's public statement, but once it goes through the court and becomes public knowledge, we will learn how many shots Desi took. Do you think it was just one shot, or do you suspect it may have been? Because there was something around the vicinity of 40 heavily armed officers surrounding the property that Desi was in, which looked to be a 40-foot container and what may well have been a triaxle caravan parked beside it, joined together by a bit of a tarp over the top or something like that. 40 heavily armed police officers. Some of them would have been dedicated snipers, right? Now, I would have thought the police, if they saw him come out and he was waving a gun, they would have tasked one of their snipers, or two of them at most, depending on who had the best shot, to shoot him. One time, kill him, dead. Through the heart, through the head, whatever they did. Or did we get 40 shots to kill him? Has he been chewed up by bullets and he had to be drained through the blanket to be put in a body bag? I'd be interested to know just how much violence was perpetrated against him in their arrest this morning. And then the other thing of interest I always find is Desi was very vocal about Freemason influence in society and going forward. And then, of course, there is the date they found him, the date they decided to execute their warrant, and the date he gave them no choice but to do what they did. The Voice of Freedom over the last 5 years or so has tried to help as many people as we possibly can in as many different ways as we can. You'll all remember Voice of Freedom was born during the COVID farce, and I wasn't a believer of that. Many people, though, suffered great anxieties. They suffered debilitating mental issues through that COVID time. And a lot of that was to blame simply on the way that we were treated by our government. We find ourselves in another position, a similar position, this time to do with wars between Israel, Iran, America, but also the crises that is brought on from that, including fuel and other impacts on our lives. Fuel is just the most obvious at the moment, but food and everything else is going to be affected as well. And I've had a lot of people talk to me and say, what can we do? Or I'm feeling this way, or this is so depressing. So we've reached out to our psychological friend in the family, if that's the best way to describe her, and brought back Malibu Bert. Good morning, gorgeous. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a privilege to be here. And you're right. We're in a very different sphere as people are seeing it. The media is telling us to be concerned. There's a lot of things on social media platforms about the worrying trends and buy up. And so people's anxieties are increasing and everyone's, looking at everything and panic buying or starting to think about panic buying. So this is a really good opportunity to help support people and find ways to really cope effectively day to day. That's why I'd like this opportunity to help support people feel better and find strategies to manage.
So I can't thank you enough for offering yourself. We should point out, you should point out, your degrees better than me. So you're not just, Esme over the fence here. You are actually somebody who's qualified to sit down and offer advice on a variety of topics, and you practice daily with people all over the country that you help out. So to be able to secure your services for people who are watching The Voice of Freedom, I think is absolutely spectacular. And thank you for being able to offer a little bit of help. Now, we're not going to be offering people hour-long sessions for them to lie on their couch at their place while you lie on your couch at yours. We are going to offer, though, as you say, some strategies, some paths that may help people through what is going to be a very difficult time again. And do you feel that people are being re-traumatized again, Malibu, because of, what we've been through with COVID?
I think we're being systematically traumatized, Carl, every single day in varying ways. So, for example, if you look at the headlines, a lot of people talk about the news. It's bad news, and it's bad news for a reason. And when you look at things over time, where are the good stories? Where are the feel-good stories? It's really diminishing. And you only have to look at news sites, for example. I won't mention them, but some of the mainstream ones, for example, they have a program. They talk about the headlines, the fuel crisis, for example, or what's happening in the Middle East. Be on high alert, be worried, be anxious. Market prices are going to soar, shelves, the price of this, the price of that. When you look at it overall, you can see that it's fear-mongering, that it's a very low vibrational energy. Now, low vibrational energy is a really important thing to look at, because if we're stressed, we're worried, we're anxious, our energetic field goes straight down. We become low. That's why the word's down, depressed. It means that we're feeling really low. So when you look at the media, the stories are helping to bring you there, and by making people worried. Even if you look at like a headline that might say there's a new strain of virus in Singapore, be on high alert if you're going to be in Singapore. But then if you look at the crux of the story, it says this could happen or that could happen. There's no actual data that says it is. Meanwhile, people have seen that and they're already worried. So that has been happening systematically. It's just become a bit more obvious now with the war.
The media, in my opinion, seem to be ramping up their headline terror. And as you say, if you read deeper than the first paragraph into the story, it's all summation, or, this, as you say, this could happen. If A, B, and C happen, and if E, D, F, and B follow in that order, then we're going to have a catastrophe, and it's going to be awful. It's pushing it down the road, but while trying to aggravate or bring up the anxiety right now, today, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And even about your own physical health is under attack too, because some of the stories that they're posting, and this is mainstream media stories, say things like the following foods that are giving you cancer or could give you cancer, or the following drinks, or this environment, or that, or reasons why you're not feeling well, or some other environmental issue. In fact, I saw yesterday there's a new series on Netflix about plastics and about how dangerous chemicals are seeping into our bodies through food contamination, plastics, etc. And the basic consensus is, you're not safe. And so that's just something recent that I saw yesterday. Now, these stories are planted all over the place, and they're giving people anxiety and worry. It could happen, or it could be this. As soon as you plant that seed of doubt and people are already worried, that can start you spiraling. What's the point? Why am I here? What are we doing? And if you look more deeply, there's a lot of people are coping. I mean, I can tell you through my own practice, a lot of my clients are talking now about friends that have suicided. It's not just one person saying it now. Suddenly it might be 3 people in a week or 6 people in a week that are having these experiences of loss within their family. So you can see that the wheel of despair is gathering momentum, and something like, the war in Iran and now the fear of petrol prices is driving the fear even deeper.
Are there techniques that you can help people with that would help them alleviate some of those fears? To me, I mean, I'm obviously not trained in any way, shape, or form, but to me, some of it, if you allow it to pile on, some of it is just so immense that many people can't escape from the weight of it. But you're offering techniques here that will help people find a way through.
Absolutely. And I talk about a lot with my clients about your consciousness, about your thoughts. I mean, what is consciousness? I mean, is it just the fact that I know that I'm alive? And I say to my clients, if you have an awareness of what you're thinking and feeling, those are already your tools to work out how you want to be. So, for example, your thoughts, they're not benign, Carl. You're not just sitting there thinking bad things about yourself or worrying about things, and it doesn't matter. Nobody knows what I'm thinking. It matters. Consciousness and what your thoughts are actually connecting you to another consciousness or another thought, because everything is connected. So, for example, if you start thinking something sad, okay, that's an energetic field, like a frequency. Okay, so you and I both met in radio. Okay, so a radio signal is a frequency. And if you want to tune into a certain frequency, a certain radio station to listen to a certain style, you're going to tune into that radio station, to that frequency. Your thoughts are a frequency. Now, if you want to have good thoughts, you have to change your frequency. You have to start thinking about things that make you feel good. Those thoughts attract a similar frequency that can hear or attract that frequency, so that you are getting the same frequency that you started with. Does that make sense? So, for example, if I'm saying to myself, I feel great, I feel really good, I start to sit up a bit more, I start to feel better. And then I'm able to think of thoughts that feel better again. So, for example, what could I feel good about in this moment? Well, I'm here, I'm healthy, I've got friends. I start thinking about my friends. I start thinking about I've got food on the table. I've got things to do. Suddenly I'm feeling better about my situation. And if you consciously, with intention, continually to think about good thoughts, they attract more of the same. But when you're in a dark space, that's the only thoughts you can attract. So as soon as you're on that spiral, it's kind of like if you imagine you're in a lobby of a building and you want to take an elevator, you can press the elevator to the basement and go down into the basement, and all you're going to see are those dark thoughts, because that's the energetic field that you are giving off. It will only attract more of the same. But if you consciously decide, I want to take the elevator to the penthouse where the view is, where everything feels better, then you can consciously and with intention press that elevator button and take the ride up to the penthouse suite. And you can decide and choose.
Sorry.
Go on.
So people, I mean, I understand that concept. You can choose to go to the penthouse and look at the sky and see how beautiful it is, or you can choose to go to the basement. There are those people who just cannot see past the ground floor. We get on, we can only go down. We've all met those sorts of people who, for whatever reason, have been affected or traumatized in one form or shape or another, or they just simply don't have. Is it the mindset to look at the positive side of things? You mentioned a couple of things there before. Oh, well, I've got food on the table. I'm happy that I've got food on the table. I'm happy that I've got a roof over my head. There are plenty of people whose roof over their head is a tent, and the food on the table is what they've been able to beg, borrow, or steal for the last week. It must be difficult to find a tool, or is it difficult? I'm not saying it must be. Is it difficult to find a tool that would help those people look past the situation that they're currently in and to elevate, as you say, into that higher mindset?
Look, it's not easy because things are really difficult. You're right. Somebody who perhaps that is homeless or doesn't feel like they have any options, the more you feel like you have no option, the more it becomes that you have no option. And so one of the things that's really important is our thoughts are actually like a key to how might we start the change. And so when we look around us, we think this is it. This is the prison around us. This is my lot. This is what I'm stuck with. But what if you were able to think, well, what change can I make? Because often people are stuck by just where they are. But if you start to think, well, what could be a change? What could I imagine? Why do we even have an imagination, Carl? Why can we draw pictures into our mind suddenly? What purpose does that fulfill? How come I can see a vision of mountains and snow-capped mountains right now? How come? Why is it there? So for somebody who's really, really down, that's in that really dark space as you describe, how might they start that imagination? Yeah. And they look around, they go, oh my God, I'm in a tent. This is terrible. It's raining as well, and it feels horrible. What could I start thinking about or imagining that could change? Just that little flash. That tiny modicum of thought can take us on a journey. You're not going to sort it all out in 1 minute or 5 minutes or 2 days or a week, but you're going to start. So your imagination and thought can be your first key.
I know a family who are living in a tent at the moment on the side of a very busy road. The rain scenario that you've just described is something that they, obviously live through pretty regularly. They have 3 young children, all of them below 9, I think, is the oldest one. When it rains, the family goes into the tent and they pretend that they're on a lifeboat in the ocean, and they do lifeboat things in the tent. Right. So it takes it adds an element of adventure and imagination rather than them saying, oh, we're back inside the tent because it's raining. And the fights, no doubt, that would ensure with 3 young kids. So they turn the inside of the tent when it rains into a sail away, bloody hideaway kind of thing, I guess. You're on a lifeboat in the middle of nowhere, and they play those games. Now that the kids love that. Now, obviously, there are stresses on the parents, and they feel that. But I think they do. That's just one of the things they do to try and keep the kids' vibe up, so to speak. But it's a massive effort that they go to, and yet the parents themselves are facilitating that for the kids while going through some pretty dark moments themselves.
And that's a wonderful example about using your imagination to create, because this is the big thing about life and about the human experience, is that we are all creators. It doesn't look like it, but we actually are. See, when I look around at this chair, for example, and I touch it and I think it's fixed, but it's not. At the quantum level, these are atoms springing up against my atoms. Everything is moving in the quantum field. And so nothing is actually fixed. It's an illusion. The illusion of separateness. Albert Einstein talks about consciousness and people, and the illusion of separatism is a delusion, an optical delusion. He actually refers to it as that. Your consciousness at the atomic level can actually create and is part of the bigger picture. You and I are connected, not just in this moment, but we are connected everywhere, universally. We are all part of the same consciousness. And as part of all of this trauma that's going on in the world is the illusion of separateness. These people, for example, either side of the road in a tent, it feels like they're all alone. Sorry, my cat's just here, go away.
Yes.
But they're not. We're all part of the same collective. But nobody really talks about the collective consciousness. And the reason that this is so important as part of this process now is that with the advent of all of this new information coming in about the shortages, everyone's feeding into that same collective, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? So we're actually driving it at the atomic level through our thoughts and energy. We're actually helping to create it. And that's also, so if we take that back to the headlines that we're exposed to, that's what's driving it. That's why they put it there. So we think about it, we imagine it, and we help perpetuate it. So we are unwittingly aiding and abetting the negative agenda that's going on right now.
We have a lot of truckies, transport industry people who follow the show. They're obviously going through a huge upheaval at the moment with the problems with fuel. Now, some of these guys are owner drivers. They've got huge, multiple $100,000 trucks they have to pay for. They can only do that by taking loads on the road. Obviously, at the moment, getting a load is one thing. Being able to put fuel in your truck and get it to where it needs to go, and then you get back again is another one. This is an industry, and it's just one of many that always runs, if you like, right on the edge. When it comes to profitability or not. I'm being contacted by a lot of owner drivers, a lot of people in the trucking industry who are saying, well, this is it now. Is there a way that we can help those people going forward? I know at the moment the issues feel insurmountable. There's nothing they can do about the price of fuel, and there's nothing the government seems to want to do about the price of fuel. The people who want their products moved can't afford to pay any more to get them moved, to cover the fuel costs, all that kind of thing. And this turns into a spiral. And I know with one family, trucking family I particularly am aware of, where father and son are involved in this business, and they are both spiraling down because they cannot see their way forward, being able to pay all the bills regards to two trucks, not one. That is just one of the issues that's striking many people on the land. In Victoria, we've got farmers who are having to deal with government representatives now coming onto their land regardless of what the farmers believe. They're going to resume parts of that land for their own use. This is historical land owned by these people for generations, and now it's all just being taken from them. Now, aside from the obvious anger that is happening in those sorts of areas, there is another psychological issue that's starting to form there too, and that is the simple fact that people are now starting to believe in places like Victoria. Doesn't matter how hard you work, doesn't matter how long you've been there, it can all be taken away from you. How do we help combat those sorts of feelings?
That's a huge one, isn't it? Because and it feels so personal, particularly when it's, intergenerational land that, it's being carried down from family to family. I guess, at the end of the day, it comes down to what's happening in here, because a lot of our attention is obviously out there and the fear of what could happen or is happening. And at the end of the day, it's an internalized belief in self has to prevail, Carl, no matter what. Because if you think about, and I'm not telling people, to let go of the hurt and the sadness, because it's real and that needs to be processed and acknowledged as well. But I think there also needs to be a real understanding that what we bring in here also creates everything that is outside. Now, whatever is going on outside, if we focus on that and continue to focus on that as our reality, and that's all there is, that also helps to perpetuate and drive. Now, I'm not telling people to live in a fantasy world either, but to believe in self, that whatever comes your way, that whatever is thrown at you, you will manage. You will be able to cope in small baby step ways. Rome was never built in a day. Time is not linear. Time is not even real. If you think about everything that is powerful, only ever occurs in the now. In this moment, this is where your consciousness and your thoughts come together for you to choose and be in a certain way. And if you can choose to be in a certain way, harness that power and belief in self. It's like the ripple effect. You throw a rock into a pond and there's a huge ripple. If you become the change first, believe whatever they throw, I can manage. Everything not magically falls into place, but it becomes better for you, better for your family, better for your energetic field, better for you to cope effectively, moment by moment. Because what people do is they start psychological spot fires. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. The government's going to be knocking on my door. This is going to happen. Yeah. So we start panicking about that. Oh, and then if they do this, then this happens. And oh my God, we're going to start panicking about that. So spot fires start everywhere. And then we're basically throwing petrol on the spot fire, pardon the pun, and everything's going up in a blaze of glory. And we get what we call like a psychological paralysis. Now we can't move. We're frozen. Our fight flight has become activated. We're unable to think clearly beyond that fight flight. I've got a survive mode, and that's where everything falls apart. So if you can start to step away from that, like in this moment, what can I do now? The power of now is such a powerful process, such a powerful understanding. There's hundreds of bestsellers on the power of now, because you can only access your power in this moment to be a certain way. Now, processing trauma and grief is also really important. I tell my clients all the time to cry. And it sounds ridiculous. Why should you cry? Well, you must cry, because crying is a natural phenomenon. If you don't cry, then you are carrying the burden of all of your traumas, your hurt, your resentment, your bitterness, your sadness, your fear. It just builds and builds, and it's like this giant bucket of mud, and you're carrying it around daily, and it feels heavy and oppressive. And the smallest thing will tip you over the edge, because you haven't processed all of that trauma from before. So every time you cry, those tears contain cortisol. It soothes the nervous system. It's actually helping to lighten you. That's why people say, I feel better after a cry. Why is that? The same problem still exists, because I'm letting go. We are energy in motion. Emotions are energy in motion. And if I'm carrying all of that dross and that sludge, it's harder for me to cope with more worries, like the government coming, or fuel prices, or everything else that's being thrown my way. It's like I'm adding more and more and more, and still it's like, okay, take me, I'm done.
Yeah.
So do you see?
Yeah.
So your thoughts and your ability to cope and manage to process, a bit like a cycle. You've got all of these traumas. How do I let go? Journal it. But don't say at 4:00, this happened or that happened. Talk about how it feels. This sucks. master all the vitriol you can, this frackin', and if you find yourself getting mad or wanting to cry, do it. That is part of your process of letting go. It's like deep sea diving. You want to ascend, you've got to get rid of all of those heavy weights. And the more you do that, the more you process these emotions, the better you are able to cope with issues like perhaps the government coming on your land, because you've gotten rid of all of the stuff beforehand, so you're better able to cope with the new information, if that makes sense.
Yep. A lot of people, I feel, and I'll use myself as an example here. I will look at a problem that I have in my life, and I will look at the problem in its entirety, in its totality, and I'll think, shit, that's a big problem. And that's about as far as I get. Because the big problem, I go to try and fix the big problem, whereas the big problem may be made up of a number of smaller, less recognized problems. How do we in this situation, taking it away from mine and putting it into the now, people who are adding mortgage stress, fuel pressures, kids' education, lack of faith in government, both state and federal, radicalization, immigration, all these different little irritants, if you like, that add to the whole problem. Is there a strategy to help people, I guess, like me, who look at all of the problems and try and come up with one solution for all of them, versus, I guess it's just start fixing the smallest one first, or whatever, you can take the first bite, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the classic, eat the elephant all at once. You can't possibly eat the elephant all at once. And this is the psychological paralysis that I was referring to before, because that's what everyone does. And this, and this, and this. And suddenly it's monstrous, and then you can't do any of it. I like to use a metaphor of hoarding. You know what hoarding, people, they have all these things around them, and it's clutter, huge amount of clutter. And I say to my clients, imagine you've got one room in your house that you've been hoarding for years. And you've got so much stuff in there that you can't even get the door open. And somebody's come in, let's say the government, and they've said, right, Carl Liebold, you're going to have to get rid of it. You're going to have to clean that room out. I'm sorry, there's been complaints by the neighbours. It's all got to go. And you go to open the door, and you're like, I can't even get into the damn room. And it's like, no, wait, it's too big. It's too hard. So I say to my clients, imagine the metaphor of just reaching in behind the door, grab something. It might be a book, a pillow, a lamp, a shoe, doesn't matter. And throw one thing out at a time every day. Reach in, just throw one thing out, because that's a bite-sized piece. I can manage that one thing, but don't ask me to open the door and try and go in there, because I'll just have a panic attack the minute I see it all. It's too overwhelming. One item at a time.
So we want to be able to offer people access to you and your insights. Now, this isn't a carte blanche, throw it open, you're going to get an hour on the couch with Malibu. It's not quite like that. Well, I'm sure you can do that, but we'll have to organize a payment system for somewhere down the track. However, but for the freebie, what we're going to do is...
Wait a minute, did you say freebie? Where's my fee? Just a minute.
I'll get a couch and we'll talk about it, okay? What we'd like you to do, if you feel you're in one of these positions where the stresses are piling up on you, where you're not knowing quite where to turn or how to help alleviate the pressure and the stress that is happening in your life right now, give us an insight. Right now, I haven't got an email address set up for Malibu yet, so send them to me initially, and I will forward these questions that you might have straight to Malibu, and we will go through those questions in our next show together and try and offer people. You don't have to use your own name. You can do this completely anonymously. You do not need to identify yourself. Just tell us the situation that you feel you need help with, and Malibu, hopefully, may be able to give you some strategy, or at least a path that will follow, give you a path to follow. Nobody promises, total enlightenment here in the world except for God. And I think you've got to die to get it. We're hopeful of bringing you a little bit more enlightenment in ways that you can ease these stresses and these pressures of this time. And if you're feeling them now, be prepared. They're going to get ramped up. There is more coming. And I think having access to somebody like you, Malibu, and your skills, your service is something that our viewers, can't thank you enough for. So I know that there are a lot of people. In fact, I can think of 3 people in Victoria right now who probably have enough questions to keep us going for the next year. But if you do have something, and it can be what's impacting your family, it can be how you feel about the way your life is going, it can be basically anything. Count it, Malibu?
Absolutely. The other thing that I would also like to include is some of your strengths. People to also include some of their strengths. What sort of person are you? How would you describe yourself? Because perception is everything. And I think this is it's also important to remember that how we feel about ourselves also depicts how we perceive our reality. It's very much, because everything we do and say is data, okay? So if you imagine a glass half full, that's data, right? I look at that and I go, oh my God, it's half full. That's all I've got. Oh my God, I'm rationing that. This has got to last me for 6 weeks. I'm only going to have 2 sips a day. Versus half full, it's plenty. I've got so much to go around with. That's okay. I can use this. And it's going to last X amount of time, and everything will be okay. Same data, totally different perception. So if people can perhaps include some of their traits, how they see themselves, what sort of person do they see themselves at? And that can help us, give us more information about them so that we can use that to help support them see, I'm not hopeless.
Yeah.
There is a ray of sunshine. Your people, by the side of the road, pretending to be in a boat. That's freaking awesome, Carl.
Yeah.
They went away on a virtual holiday. They gave the kids some joy. It lifted everyone's energy and frequency in that moment. They made the really best of a diabolical situation. That we can use those skill sets and we can apply them to other settings, because suddenly you realize, how long is a piece of string? What can I think of next? And once I think of that thought, where will that thought lead me? Because in education, we've been told to repeat stuff, revise it, spill it back out, I'll turn it out back at you again. What about the imagination and curiosity of what can I do? Who am I? Where can I go? Suddenly the universe is expanding. Yeah. Your consciousness starts to expand, and we're actually stuck in the moment of what I refer to as the forest for the trees. We're stuck around all these trees. It's like, I can't get out. I'm stuck. The trees are all around me. But if I expand my consciousness for just a little bit and I decide, wait a minute, what if I walk in one direction or any direction for 5 minutes, I will get out into the pasture. And the trees will be behind me. All I had to do was to think more widely and expansively about my situation. Curious, critical thinking. What can I change now? What tiny step can I make? And suddenly everything changes.
You're right. It's that mindset. This family particularly, I don't know. Neither of them are teachers. She doesn't work at the moment. He does, has got a job, just can't find a house. They have, I don't know whether or not they've had meetings between themselves about what to do to keep this all exciting for the kids and not impact them so much. But what they are raising are 3 children who have no fear of the wilds because they're out there playing in it all day, every day. They don't have a television. There's nothing there. There's no electronics in the family. Nobody has an iPad to be glued to or anything like that. So they're out there actually doing kid things that I guess you and I did when we were growing up, because we didn't have any of that as well. So the wheel is slowly turning. It's a painful turn, though. But to give you an example of some of the lengths that this particular family I know have gone to, the father is an avid fisherman, and he's got a bunch of mates who've got boats and all that sort of thing, and they have gone out fishing quite regularly in the past. Beside the tent, he keeps his fishing rods. And during a particularly bad storm that we had over Christmas time, the park that they were in got fairly flooded. So a few of his mates had gone fishing and they'd caught a couple of fish. So they went and attached a fish to one of these rods, spun out the line to behind a tree, and then rang Mick and said, "Pick up your rod, reel in a fish." The kids were amazed. So that's the kind of thing that you can do that just changes the whole house that day, or the whole tent that day, because they were crabby, they were shitty, they were whatever. And Dad just said, "Oh, I wonder if I can catch a fish on the boat today. Let's see." And you know what? They gutted and cooked the fish, and they had it for afternoon tea as well.
That is awesome.
So,
that is absolutely awesome.
Just a great little story that, two parents, wonderful people, pretty hard on their luck at the moment. They're the kind of lengths they're going to normalize what is a not very normal situation for 3 kids under 9. And they are doing a great job. Now, I know she struggles at times with not being a good enough mother. Haven't got a roof over our heads. I'm not baking, biscuits for the kids every day, that kind of thing. She struggles particularly with that, but has a good group of friends around her that I think rally her up on a pretty regular basis. But these are the kinds of people that I worry about, where one partner is working very, very hard to normalize what isn't a normal situation and to make it fun. And I'm not saying that she isn't doing that. She is. She's very involved in all of that. But you can see, when you see the smile on the face, it's only lips deep. And you want to be able to help. You want to be able to help further. So hopefully we might be able to get some questions from her and anybody else that's feeling like they're a bit stranded at the moment. They don't know which way their emotions are going or how to rail those emotions back into control. And I think this ability to ask a question of you and have you analyze it for us, I think is going to be very beneficial to many people. So folks, if that is you, then email me, carl@vofhq.com. You can email Vince as well. We'll make sure that Malibu gets all these, and I will set up a Malibu at vofhq.com email address and give it to her. So these emails will go straight to her, and she can pick and choose who we speak about. And we'll try and do this every week or every fortnight. I understand you are a very busy lady. To give you an indication, folks, we've had to record this on the weekend because Malibu is so flat out during the week. So if we can find an appropriate time, and we'll do the shows live if we can, would love to help, these people who are going to reach out, and I'm sure plenty of them will.
Well, you know what, Carl, what really resonates the most with me, and I am busy, I had 40 clients at least a week, which is a lot. But the real point of all of this, I think, more than anything, is empowerment. And I know that's a word bandied around a lot, but the world is full of people that are disempowered, lack of worthiness, indoctrinated from birth. You're not very good. You'll never amount to much. I hear it all the time. And that is, my friend, the spiral of despair. If you think you're operating from a bad place already, you're already digging your own spiral. So if I can help in any way to help people see, you know what, You're powerful. You actually really are. And we can use your skills and your traits to turn things around and change your reality slowly and incrementally to something better. That, my friend, is where all the joy and love starts. That's where all the real power is.
Thank you so much for offering this help to the Voice of Freedom family. I can't thank you enough. It's I think it's going to be a service that a lot of people are going to want to lean on at some point. And obviously, we can't help everybody for hours a day, every day. Malibu is a busy lady. But what we will do is we'll pick the eyes out of everything that comes through, and we'll endeavor to help as many people as possible. And if Malibu can't do it, then I'll make up a story and tell that to you. Maybe that'll cheer you up. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for coming and being part of it. I can't thank you enough. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can help people going forward into what will be a trying time for us all, I'm sure.
Yep. All right. Awesome. See you soon then.
Whoa, put myself back up. The wonderful Malibu Bert. And thank you for her reaching out, wanting to be able to do this for our family. And I can think of a number of people in the family already who could probably already fill a book of questions for her. I hope that they do. We're only going to answer one at a time, though, so be aware of that. And the email address to get her on is askmalibu@vofhq.com. That's that one that's traveling across the bottom there. And Malibu will be quite surprised because she didn't know I was going to have it set up. And if you're emailing her now, they'll be turning up in her inbox and she'll be saying, right, so say hi from me if you're sending an email. Quickly, let's do a few other bits and pieces. Premier in Queensland, Christopher Fuley, eyes off a sea of oil to relieve the country's oil woes amid the fuel crisis. Well, we don't have an oil crisis. And it's great of Christopher Fuley to, recognise that we have an oil field and oil that we could pull from the field. However, we don't have any more facility to process it, and that is the problem. Now, there are two refineries. We've spoken about them in Australia. The Geelong refinery, which processes about 50% of Victoria's requirement and about 10% of national fuel requirements. Then there is the other refinery in Australia. That is owned by Ampol, and it's in Lytton in Brisbane. Now, I've asked today just what it produces. So here is a breakdown of the Lytton refinery estimated daily output. So at the moment, it puts out a little over 8 million litres a day of petrol, a little under 8 million, say 7 million in diesel, and anywhere up to about 1 million in LPG. This diagram, which I went to great expense to create, shows you the demand. The orange lines are the demand in Australia, and this is the percentage of fuel supplied by Lytton in Brisbane and the Geelong plant in Victoria to national demand. So the blue lines there indicate a combined output from both those refineries, and the orange lines are what we actually require. The green line that we add into that now is our total demand and what needs to be filled from overseas. Everything in the green needs to get to our total demand. So it looks like for diesel particularly, our total demand is up around 35 plus million litres per month alone, by the look of that, if I'm getting that right. A bit more LPG than I would have thought too. And that LPG is coming from where? I would hope it's coming from Australian sources. I mean, although there is such stupidity in the world. Now, we've been a bit concerned about our fuel, where it's coming from, and whether or not we can rely on it actually getting here. There, you may have seen over the weekend, I think, traveling around on various various social medias. I'm just going to turn that banner off for a minute if I can figure out. It's not letting me turn things off. Oh, yes, it is. May have come back to life. My screen wasn't. No, it's still not working properly. We'll see. What was I saying? Fuel. Yes. So the demand obviously outstripping supply that we are capable of trading. The Queensland Premier identifies that Queensland has a lot of oil, the Taroom fields, they're called. Now, yes, we could supply an awful lot of oil, but we don't have a refinery able to process it, because the one we've got's going as fast as it can, doing max production on what it's already being provided. So, therefore, the next announcement I would hope from the Christodoulou government is that we're going to fund a refinery somewhere, I don't know, near Taroom maybe. That might drive people out to the bush and give them a reason to live and work out there, because when the refinery goes in, there will be a lot of jobs in the building and then the maintaining of such a thing. And who knows, in the future, because it's already got a fairly large industrial setup there, maybe they could put a nuclear power plant out there as well. You know, the safe nukes, the ones that they seem to be using in Iran that haven't been impacted in any way at all by the missiles that have been going off in the building around them. Yep. Israel has attacked Iran's nuclear power plant, but not been able to breach, or maybe they haven't tried to breach, but certainly there has been no containment breach. There is no radiation breach. And as far as we're aware, and as far as Iran is telling anyone, it is operating as normal. So, I don't know. Curiouser and curiouser things are happening. Now, I'm running over. And this might just be God telling me I've got to move on tonight. I've got a couple more photos that I was going to show you and things I was going to ask you about. I do have a new word for you that I was going to show you tonight. In our series, we are looking for interesting words to put on a cup or mug series. I think we've up to 5. We're looking for a 6th. I have one for you. But I can't scroll my bloody machine down to show it. Now, let me just see if I remove something from there. And now I'm going to refresh my screen. If I refresh my screen, I'm likely to get kicked out. So just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. All right, now let's see whether or not. Oh, look, it's come back to friggin' life. Don't you love it? Folks, things I need you to remember. This is one of them, or 2 of them, in fact. If you don't know what order 13848 and 13818 are, go and look up the executive orders from October of 2018 that Donald Trump signed, and that may help you navigate a path to less anxiety in your life about what's going on at the moment. Just a thought. I would not navigate this cow, or either of them for that matter, into any kind of anxiety mitigation. These people should be as anxious can get. The world is hunting for particularly one of them, and I wouldn't mind if the other was up. Now, Julia Gillard is responsible for some of the greatest frauds perpetrated on the Australian people. And she gave, well, they're quoting here, $14 million in payments to the Clinton Foundation and associated other things. But it was a lot more than that. Gillard bribed her way into a job through the Clinton Foundation into the UN. And you might remember that when Gillard was Prime Minister of this country, unelected Prime Minister of this country, she introduced education schemes through Victoria's education system that allowed militant, whatever sexuals, to take control of the educational thesis of Victorian children. And this was the genesis of drag queen nursery rhymes and libraries and God knows whatever else putting these sort of drag shows on. They are still happening in some places. I saw a picture the other day of, it must have been 30 children on a rotunda in a park. And in the middle of the rotunda was a drag queen, a fat old drag queen in a G-string. Kind of thing makes me a bit unhappy. This kind of thing makes me a bit unhappy too. Now, I don't know how real this is. I only saw it this afternoon, but if you're in the market for a Balenciaga jacket called Intestina, and you'd want to pay $27,540 for that, good luck to you. What do you think you're going to get for your $27,450? I hope it's not a live intestine jacket. That's all I'm saying. There are some weird and sick people in the world, folks, and one of them came up with what I'm about to show you. I have absolutely no idea what I'm about to show you is. If any of you have any ideas what I'm about to show you is, please put them in the comments. Even if you don't have any idea about what I'm about to show you and what it really is, but you think you might know, I would be very keen on your comments. Prepare yourself. I want to know what that is, what it does, and why you'd want it to do it. I'm a little concerned. Yes, take a photo of it. I think you're probably going to need to. But that is one of those WTF moments. Like, what? I really don't understand. I really don't understand. But I may not want to understand when I do understand. So anyway, I'll take that sour taste out of your mouth and I'll put our new word in it, shall I? Now, you know, I'm a sucker for a good word. Now, I have looked up the bona fides of this word, and while it is a word, it is not necessarily an old word that has been used to great extent, you know, in previous centuries. This is a sort of newer word, if you like. And I was quite surprised when I asked when I discovered the word, I sort of asked and dug into it a little bit. So here is the definition of the word. The word is cocknoxious. And someone who is cocknoxious is smug, loud, arrogant, full of themselves, with nothing of value to offer any Australian. Would you like to put it in a sentence? Let's do that. Cocknoxious snollygosters inhabit the Australian Parliament. What are you going to do to fix it? Never say, I don't help you out with new words. I mean, you've got no idea how I dig them up. And I can tell you that I'm not making them up. Cocknoxious. And that is the correct spelling. Because I thought there was an X in it. And when I first saw the word, I actually thought it had something to do with my ex-wife. But now I remember the word that she used was nauseous, not noxious. So anyway, have yourself a lovely night. We'll talk again tomorrow. Be safe on the roads and avoid those dickheads. Hope you got a smile. Bye.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!